Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. We're a whole again. Two of us are reunited. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, you know, I think I did you a bit of a disservice yesterday on my reaction because I said you were at a Super Bowl party. You weren't. You were working the Super Bowl, so
I
I
was.
apologise for that first and foremost. This man has had no sleep and
Yeah, man.
he's just fueled on caffeine and anger. And Dan is ready to give his 2 cents on what happened. Is that a
Yeah.
Star Wars mug?
There's the caffeine. It's not actually. It's quite cool. I can't really show it you properly because it's full of coffee, so I'm scared to hold it over my laptop. But it's like remember like the
Oh, it's a
CFAX?
teletext.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of when we won the. So I've got two. I've got one from we beat Liverpool 7-2, and this one's from the playoff final.
that's
Um,
quality.
and so yes, I do tend to record with a Villa mug of some sorts. But yeah, it's like 20 to 6. I'm still having to fuel myself on caffeine because to be fair, it was like as Super Bowl party like as work can get. There was beers going. I didn't have one because I was like, you can't really enjoy it because I was working. But beers were going around. Got some food in. I'm not. I anyone that knows me, I'm not a massive NFL guy. I prefer the NBA to the NFL, but I'm partial to some American football. So yeah, stayed up last night, sort of doing a few bits and pieces for work and some American brands that we work with, and it was a really great game. It was a really really good game. I really enjoyed it. It was the kind of game that turns someone into a fan of the NFL. I think like people that were
Yeah,
staying up to watch a Super Bowl maybe for the first time will have watched that game last night, and it would have been like they would have been converted. The same way I imagine the World Cup did to a lot of people. American audiences watching the World Cup final for the first time. That's probably we footballers gained a fair few fans, I imagine, off the back of that. And last night, with the way that Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes went at it, and there was literally no defense, just vibes. It was an absolute offensive clinic from both sides. It was 34-34 going into the last like few seconds. It was great vibes. But what that meant is I got home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, was in work the next morning. And now, a few hours on, I'm here. It meant that I couldn't talk about the game last night, unfortunately. But yes, as you said, it allowed you to vent some frustrations, I think, mate.
yeah, and I think we're here for round two, really, mate, because I'm still not over it. There's been a few sort of replies to that. I don't know if these are people who watched the podcast video, whatever you want to call it, from yesterday, but there was certainly a lot of replies to the tweet, and I don't know if it's because I included like hashtag MCFC, but being like, wasn't a dive, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I've watched it back. Of course, it's contact, but it's not enough for a penalty. But then, like everyone's like shoving this down our throats, being like, "Yeah, well, you can't have your cake and eat it." He made a career of doing this for you guys, and I can have my cake and eat it because it was a disgrace. You do not do that to your boyhood club. I'm sorry. I've woke up even more angry because people, even Villa fans, and listen, people are more than entitled to their opinion. Do not get me twisted. But Villa fans were telling me that I'm like delusional. Grow up. Like I'm allowed to feel that. I feel betrayed. I feel bugged off. I do. I can't, like, it's just what's your stance on it, mate? Because realistically, we can get into more of the tactical aspects a little bit later on because there's positives. I mean, if we're going to talk about the second half,
Yeah,
maybe, but
yeah,
if we're going to put our classic Villa filler spin on this, but Jack Grealish is a disgrace.
mate. I was literally walking home from the office today, like almost rehearsing what I was going to say on this. I've been really eager because like I didn't really know how to feel about it at the time, and he was playing really well yesterday. There were several moments where I thought he was going to score, and when that happened, it was one of those that it's like there's a real grey area. It sort of seems like in football, whereby players will do these things, and like pundits will say like it's clever. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not.
Yeah,
You're right. It's not like if you, I imagine, I don't know what the wording is, but imagine if you looked at the word dive in the footballing dictionary, it's like, you simulate contact, you go down trying to win a foul, and there is contact. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Jack does this really, they use that word again, clever thing where he sort of runs across JJ, knowing that his momentum will inevitably sort of clip him in some form. He then takes that through like his leg, then hits his own leg, he goes down. and it's a penalty, and it's sort of in that category where Harry Kane is really good at doing this thing where he'll back into when there's a long ball coming, he'll back into a defender, and then they'll sort of have to climb over the top of him to win the header, and then he'll go down underneath them and win a free kick. And it's like there's a few things in the game now where like the rules are sort of being bent really far one way, and it's like it means that you get these sort of grey areas whereby no, it's not a dive, no, that like there's contact, and it's like it's really hard to like pin a rule down that stops players from doing it. And so it basically means that players like Jack have done this for a while. He's probably done it for us. I can't think of like too many penalty decisions, but there's definitely been free kicks where like Jack is like really clever at putting his body in the right place at the right time to anticipate the incoming challenge or a foul and win a free kick. And, you know, we lauded him for being the most foul player in the Premier League for however many seasons that we were here. I think most people are disgruntled at the fact that he did it against us. And, you know, some people made a fair point, which was Ash did it. And that was a flat out dive. That's not like a Jack thing where he's like sort of instigated contact and gone down. Ash did it when he was playing for Man United against us, and it was a flat out dive. And, you know, it boils down to the fact that he's done it against his boyhood club. And
Ash never professed to love us like Jack.
No, this is the thing. It's like, look, people that know me know how I feel about Jack and how I feel about like him once he left and how that whole situation was handled. And I'll say this, mate. It's like it's really rare that you get somebody in football that is known for being a fan of a particular club at the level that their supporters are. Do you know what I mean? It's like you think of like many. If I challenge people in the comments to be like outside of your one club men, so like, you know, no Francesco Totti's or like Gary Neville's or anything like that. They're like of your run of the mill Premier League footballers, how many you can pick out that are like devoted fans to one club? There's not many. It's sort of like you sort of hear it. It's like, oh yeah, apparently Ollie Watkins is a Arsenal fan and like that, but there's no evidence to support that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's weird actually how like you grow up and like you listen to footballers talking about how they grow up and they don't really align themselves with a particular like team or anything like that. They sort of say,
or it's always Liverpool.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's what I mean. It's always like, oh, I loved watching the Invincibles growing up, or I love watching Ronaldo growing up, so I liked United. Like there's no like, so Jack's part of this rare breed, and all I'll say is that say
what you really think, mate. Come on. Say what you really think.
We have made a situation whereby we've created a hostile atmosphere towards Jack Grealish. Both on his return to Villa Park, you know, we had that thing, and I think we dealt with it really well. And certain portions of Villa Park booed, some portions clapped, but the overwhelming thing was that Villa till we die chant. And it's like, you know, before the penalty, he was getting booed at the Etihad yesterday, and there's like. And it's that like the more that we do that, the more that we sever the connection. You know, he got dogs abuse on social when he left. He was called a snake. He was called this and he was called that. And so it's like we can't treat a player like that and then expect the utmost loyalty from them when they then play against us. And that's sort of how I feel about it. Is it's like if we're singing Super Jack every time he comes to Villa Park and we're clapping him onto the pitch, then I think we have a right to feel disgruntled. But if we're going to chant at him that he should be a Villa fan, that he's a snake for leaving, we boo him even before the penalty, and then he metaphorically sticks two fingers up to us and goes and does that, it's like the loyalty's already been severed in a lot of ways. And it's like, it's a game, mate. There's no we all say there's no loyalty in this game anymore. Football is a business. Like he's left and he's put that chapter behind us, and that showed it yesterday. That like Villa's in his past now. Villa's gone. It's like he's complete. You and I have made a good point for a long time on this pod that he feels very invested. It clearly means a lot to him playing for Man City. Every goal, every assist, he really celebrates. And to round off, basically summarising how I feel about on this is like, I just think that, it's annoying that he's done it against us, but we don't exactly treat him very well either. So I can understand why he probably gets a little bit pissed off and wanted to get one back over us. He's done something that's very clever. He hasn't blatantly cheated. He's bent the rules, but a lot of players do that as well. It's not just a Jack thing. But we were crap in the first half, and I feel like we have a right to be more annoyed at the overall performance than that bit of silliness from Jack, maybe.
But do you not see? I was having this discussion with people at work today in our video meeting. He really wanted to score. Like he really like he tried very hard. We almost
Mm-hmm.
had a Derby County at home replay. If he'd have
Yeah,
scored that, mate, I would have walked out straight away.
yeah.
That had hit the back of the net. I'm straight in the car. I'm going home. There's no way I could stomach anything if he'd have scored or even assisted in that manner. I just like I know we've said it before and all this kind of stuff, but is it like that's the chapter closed now, isn't it? There is no coming back. He's in his villain era. He's in his villain. He's showing off his new girlfriend on the IG stories 2 days after he's broke off with his ex. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, this is
it's the
it.
same energy.
This
He's
is it.
our nemesis. He's our villain.
We've moved on from him, clearly. Like, we
But we
wanted to.
haven't because we're so upset.
No, but true. But like as a club, we moved on from him. He's moved on from us. It's one where listen, like, of course you would like if you speak to players, there's always like you want to score against your old team. And it's like I think we moved on from that. And it's like I think it's not necessarily Villa, but like, he walks out, he's getting dogs abuse from the away end. Regardless of what away end that is, you want to score against them. Like we've made a rod for our own back so many times in players over the years. We give them abuse. Jamie Vardy's made like 5 or 6 games of Villa Park where we walk on, we give him and his wife call them all the names under the sun. Right, like then he's desperate to score against us, and it happens time and time again. I just think that, like as I said, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We can't expect too much loyalty from him because we as a fan base don't show him much anymore. But yeah, is we have had a taste of our own medicine because he's probably done that to so many teams over the years in claret and blue, and it is very annoying. But he's very good at it, and that's why we sold him for 100. That's why he made the club £100 million. That's why he has that ability to manipulate his body like that. It's a talent, and he's used it against us, and it's bloody annoying. But as I said, mate, I was more pissed off at the performance as a whole, really, and I think that was just the sort of cherry on the cake, really. And the cake tasted like shit.
Yeah, it's the worst cake I've had in a while. That's for sure.
Yes, mate.
I think what was frustrating, I think we kind of came into this game with the sort of angle of there's chaos. Let's let's stir that pot a little bit more in regards to everything that's going on at the club at Manchester City and all that. And then 3:30 comes around, and you see the lineup, and it's a 3-3-3-1, and it's Walker, Diaz, and Laporte at the back, and Kyle Walker's the only one who's played pretty much regularly or even at all in some cases since the World Cup out of that trio of defenders. And Bernardo Silva was an auxiliary left back, and it was just a whole mess. And listen, because I don't need to sit here and read through the team sheet because they're all world-class players and they can quite clearly do whatever Pep Guardiola wants them to do, and however he decides to set them up, they will execute. And they did that very much yesterday. But it really irks me. I was chatting to the bloke next to me. Villa, even since Grealish has left, everything is down the left. Literally everything is down the left. I think it's generally between like looking on who scored, the attacking sort of momentum and the sides where the attacks are directed down. It's always in the 40% or plus category in terms of percentage of where the ball is down Villa's left hand side. So since Grealish has left, we still haven't managed to shake that, right? But it did my head in so much. More often than not, Emmy was playing it long, which if you're going to try and overcome the press, I guess that's what you're going to do. But we're playing it long onto Ollie Watkins, who's been marked by Kyle Walker. And there was that one instance where he did him for pace. But realistically, that's a battle that you're not going to want to engage in. Why not shift that focus to the right, where when you're playing that long ball, you only have to compete with Bernardo Silva in the air? It frustrated the living hell out of me. And we've got John Duran sat on the bench, mate, who came on. And as I said yesterday, he's completely validated any feelings that we have had in the preview and after the Leicester game. This man should be starting ahead of Leon Bailey. He is much more of a focal point and has proven to be more of a threat in the 20 minutes that we've seen him play across 2 games than Leon Bailey has in the past 5.
Yeah, like Leon is it's a real shame because it felt like Leon was gathering some real momentum at points earlier this season. There was we've both had moments where it's like, okay, like Leon's finally starting to turn it on, like he's on a semi-regular basis at least, and now it's just faded off again completely. And he's going to be a patchy player for a little while, it seems. But I like the mistakes are frustrating because Leon Bailey, we paid a lot of money for. He was a very established player before he came here. Played for some very good teams. Played in European competitions, and it's like, so when he makes the mistakes, it's very, very annoying. And I'd rather see John Duran making those mistakes every time. Like, if we're going to be seeing chances fall to players 5 or 6 yards out, players taking sloppy touches that run into the feet of that centre half, and it's like, I'd rather see Duran doing that because you can see the desire is there, and Duran's like really unlucky not to score a pretty amazing goal yesterday.
Yeah.
Interesting again. Like, I thought Coutinho came on and was bright. So like I think we've really got Unai's got some decisions to make going into the Arsenal game. But yeah, when it's a bit just absolute master stroke from Pep, mate. And honestly, like I feel myself coming away from that game. It's like when you're up against that kind of a madman that's like willing to address, that's like sent João Cancelo out on loan, and he's like that confident in his own players and in his own like tactical like mind that he's like willing to put Bernardo Silva in at left back. What wasn't a left back. He basically played as Zinchenko.
He was. Yeah.
He was like he was a bit like he basically played exactly as Zinchenko did in that left sided sort of or like inverted fullback that comes inside and gets involved like in the central areas and build up phases and stuff like that. And it allowed the thrust of Gundogan to get more involved, and it really helped them sort of progress the ball through the central thirds. And it's like you watch that happening and you're like, man, like I can't even be mad. What, like I'm seeing, like when you're seeing a guy that is that confident, put a player like that into a left back and it works so well, and I'm just like blown away. And we said that it's when you create a siege mentality at Manchester City that you often get the best out of them. And that's not a Man City thing. That's basically been Jose Mourinho's managerial style for like the last 25 years, is create an us versus the world mentality. Everyone's out to get us. Nobody likes us. And that's he's built a very good career after that. Fergie did it at points at United. Arsene Wenger's done it at points at Arsenal. The great managers of the Premier League have all done this. It's nothing new. And Pep's done it very well, and it means that he rotated the lineup yesterday, and it worked to perfection. And it's just remarkable to see, Ruben Dias come in and play like that. Rodri sort of was involved at the back, and he was great again yesterday. And we were really poor in the first half, and didn't help. We conceded 4, absolutely pathetic. Shout out to Watkins, who not only took responsibility for that and said he was really disappointed, but that's 3-3, and he's really turned the corner. And he's a player that we've all given a fair bit of criticism to, and it's great to see that he's responded to that and he's really picked up the mantle. But yeah, the first half was really, really bad. We came out and we did better in the second half, but I think City got a little bit sloppy, and I think they sort of let us back into that a little bit. But yeah, I didn't really feel too much for the game as a whole, really, to be honest with you, mate, because City have got that kind of strength and depth. And I mean, our bench was kind of embarrassing. As they were saying, I want to say this on the pod, because they said it on commentary, that we forgot to register John Duran. Martin Tyler said this, and I'd love to see if I heard this correctly, because back me up. He said that we had to ask the Premier League for special permission because we left John Duran off the initial squad list. We forgot that we could have 9 subs instead of 8, and literally at the 11th hour, we had to get special permission from the Premier League to put John Duran on the bench for that game, Otherwise, we would have gone into it with 8 substitutes. And
if that doesn't sum up
that's
Aston Villa, then I don't know what does.
honestly to God, I heard that we were 3-0 down at the time. I was just like, what is the point? That is the difference. That is the difference. Yeah, if anyone else listens to the game on TV, I'd love to like back me up on that, because unless I was like delusional, Mike Tyler did say that on comms yesterday.
It's absolutely crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. It's 2023, man, and we forget. I mean, Pep Guardiola, like, just to show the levels, Guardiola would have the bloody kit man registered and ready to play if he needed him. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's funny. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, mate. And as I say, I'm all aboard the Duran hype train. The fact that that interception he makes pretty much as soon as he comes on sets up Ollie's goal. I've seen enough, man. I've seen enough. I'm all aboard the Duran hype, and hopefully he can do more. And as well, like, I don't know if we've maybe mentioned this, or maybe it's something that we've overlooked, but obviously being Colombian, Spanish speaking, Emery will obviously be able to sort of really get his points across in his native tongue. So that's always going to be helpful as well. You don't necessarily have to worry about there being as much of a language barrier. There will be some, obviously. I mean, we know Douglas Luiz has gone on the record to say, I still don't understand a word John McGinn says. So there's always going to be that they're going to have to battle with. I thought Dougie was one of our better players yesterday, mate, to be honest. I thought he sort of faded out of the game a bit towards the end. I think I would have probably brought him off. He looked quite tired. I don't know what you think, mate. But I thought he was probably one of the few sort of shining lights. And, you look at the average positions, it's clear what the game plan was. JJ and Ash pretty much in line for the whole game, doubling up on Grealish there. They know what they had to do. It's just a shame that couldn't be executed. And I mean, you guys know we don't like to sort of pick out individuals, but there needs to be a genuine dialogue about Luca Dean, because when somebody's earning somewhere in the region of £130,000 a week, the fact that he's so petrified to enter the opposition second half and get to the byline, this guy needs to go. I'm sorry, I'm not. I mean, I was saying terminate Chambers' contract at halftime yesterday, but I'm not the kind of person to be like, this person needs to go, get him out of the club, this and that. Luca Dean does not do what he said he was going to do on the tin, mate. And Alex Moreno's come in for, a similar fee, probably less on wages. And as I kind of said yesterday, mate, we're going to have to figure out a way how we can defend that left-hand side a bit better to facilitate this man and his forward runs and get into the byline and putting balls into the box, because there's no doubt we're going to get caught and we're going to get exposed on the counter-attack with the way that he attacks. But Booba, Dougie, Ty, whoever it may be, who is sort of on the left-hand side of the pitch, needs to get that figured out so as we can kind of cover that up and really get the most out of Moreno, because I thought he was excellent again, mate.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more obvious why we felt that was a position that maybe we needed to address. Interesting one on Chambers. I actually felt sorry for him. That's his first Premier League start since August. We're now 2 weeks into February, or near enough. And we put him in against the best out and out, the not only the best, but probably the most terrifying player in world football. If you're a centre half, I can't imagine there is a scarier sight than Erling Haaland, especially when you've got this whole thing with Manchester City and they've got a right being in the bonnet. So not only you're playing your first game since August, you're playing against probably the scariest player, if not the best out and out number 9 in world football. You're coming into a defence which has just conceded 4 at home to Leicester. You're away at the Etihad. And I was just like, mate, that is so difficult. And obviously, he sort of makes a little bit of a mistake. But
that's an understatement of the century.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I don't think Emi Martinez covered himself in much glory yesterday. I didn't think he had a great game. I don't think he'll stay. I realised this yesterday. I was like, I don't think Emi Martinez is going to stay. Yeah. No way. In fact, I would be surprised if on the first match day of August, if Emi Martinez is still in goal for the Villa, I will be actually surprised. Because I just look at the World Cup that he's had. there's going to be so much interest in him this summer. You know, we've already had Juventus, Atletico, Spurs chopping around. It's like he's conceded 4 at home to Leicester. He's then seen like Callum Chambers do that in front of him, and we're getting slapped 3-0 at half time at the Etihad. And like this guy loves the Villa, but it's like I wouldn't begrudge him that move. But I don't think he had a great game yesterday. I thought we got away with one on that one where Haaland they have what is a 50-50, he loses it and Gundogan volleys it in. That's one of those ones where he's benefited from being a goalkeeper in that situation because he's just lost a 50-50 challenge for the ball that a centre half wouldn't, like, you don't get that decision. But I don't like I'm not digging him out, and I'm just saying, like, from my observation, I don't think he had a great game. Don't think Dean did, but I don't think Dean's had a good game. If like since like how, like since he joined, like he's not.
Luca Dean's best game at Villa was when we beat Everton and Leon Bailey scored from the corner. That's Luca Dean's best game for Villa.
Yes, he had like honestly, it is. That's the most impact he's had in a Villa game, and he was still in an Everton shirt. It's just not like I don't know. I really don't know what's going on there. It's a really bizarre one. But there's a general sort of, I'm not going to say crisis at the club, but the fullbacks is a situation that's a right mess right now. Like Ash continually starting over Cash, and like it's deserved. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be the case, but like what is going on there? Seriously,
No,
on Matty Cash's part, like why can't you get back into that team over like 38-year-old Ashley Young, whatever it is? He's playing very well, but he's out of contract at the end of the year. There's no benefit in us playing Ashley Young because we don't know if he's going to be here next season, whether he's in a coaching capacity or what. Like Matty Cash is the contracted fullback that's young, that's developing, that we have for the long term, and he can't get back in the team. You got Dean and Moreno. I mean, I don't even know what's going on there. There's a lot to sort out against Arsenal. We'll be back to preview that, but it's hard to feel too confident about it at the moment, is it?
You're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong. I mean, just a final point on Chambers. I really want to put the nail in his coffin because I've been his biggest fan. So when I'm calling out a performance, you guys will know that it's that bad. It was that bad, and you don't need to be gaslit to think otherwise. So he made 10 long ball attempts yesterday, only 4 of which were accurate. Why? Keep it simple. Play out from the back, short passes. Callum Chambers. Ezri's the stopper, right? And whoever that left-sided centre half is going to be the ball player. As you know, Tyrone Mings is in that situation. Lost possession 9 times. He's a centre half. Made 1 error that led to goal. Was dribbled past once. Had 45 touches. What are you doing, mate? Most of them were picking the ball out from the back of the bloody net. Absolutely stinking, mate. And you know, it's hard to be mad at him, and it's hard to be mad at like the deal because, you know, Arsenal essentially paid us to take him, right? They terminated the contract. We took him on a free. But again, you know, I hate to keep saying it, but we come out from a defeat, and Unai has learned way more than he would have done if we'd have shit-arsed the 1-0. And that's the top and bottom of it, mate, really, isn't it? It's annoying. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, we deserved so much more, because we didn't. We was absolutely shocking. And it's Manchester City. That's not me coming in with a defeatist mentality at all. That's just being realistic. But, you know, I felt that from this, Arsenal, Everton, I thought we'd get 3 points. I thought we'd take a point in each game. I mean, we could still be on for that 3 points just by winning one of them games. But it's going to be interesting to see where we lie. And you know, I think I kind of touched on it a bit yesterday as well, but like people are using this and the subs and all this kind of stuff as like, you know, I think some people may have felt, and I think some definitely felt this about how we felt about our business, mate, and us being quite happy with the business and not spending. But some people feel like they have been gaslit into thinking that, you know, the business was good and that you know, these people were right all along. And listen, hindsight is 20/20, man. Don't come at us with that. I knew that this was right, blah, blah, blah. The manager has literally said it's in black and white. He was happy with what we did and that he didn't want to overspend and he didn't want to just bring anyone in. And that's, unfortunately, for these people, is the only opinion that matters, right? Did we miss Matteo Guendouzi yesterday? Abso-fucking-lutely. He would have been perfect for that game, you know, because what I mentioned yesterday, we needed to fight this lot. You don't come to the Etihad to play football. You come for a scrap and you escape with a point at very most. But if we get like Guendouzi, he'll come in the summer. That's gonna happen. Like we're not gonna rush. We're not gonna pay over the odds. And like again, European football isn't going to happen. It's all if buts and maybes. If only we'd have signed this player, we could have done this. We could have been here. We could have had this many points. It doesn't matter because at the end of the season, the table doesn't say Aston Villa 12, 8 points off European football. If they'd have signed Guendouzi, though, they'd be in the conference. That's not what the table says. The table has a number, it has a points tally, it has goals for, goals against. That is all it says in the table. It never lies, mate, does it?
No, you're absolutely right, mate. This is just I find it all very difficult to gauge and digest. The only thing I know about the Villa right now for certain is that I wholeheartedly trust Unai Emery, and I believe he'll get it right. I'm getting to a point where like I'm just a bit. If we woke up like just them crazy scenarios where like if we woke up tomorrow and the whole squad had been sold and we just had a completely new squad, fresh faces and fresh players, I'd really like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like a bit, just feel like I got us to the end. Got to the end of the road of this lot. There's like players that are just like I can't gauge. I don't know how to gauge. I don't know where they are. I don't know how good they are. Like how good is Leon Bailey?
Come on. Yeah.
How good is Leon Bailey? How good is Luca Dean? Like what? Like Esri Konsa, Matty Cash. Like it's just like these guys.
A lot
are like, what's the deal? Where are you?
They're losers, mate. They're losers. That's what they are. Yeah. We've not spoke about it yet, but that. They're laughing with Grealish. I'm not against people being friends. He spent a lot of time at the club, Grealish, and he obviously knows all these boys very well. Save it for WhatsApp, bro. Don't sit there.
This is what I mean. Just don't do it. Don't do it in the centre circle.
What are you doing that for? Why are you putting your hand over? We know what you're saying. We know you're saying fucking hell. You're butters. We know that's what he's saying to you, and you're all agreeing because you are. You're awful. You're shit. You're losers. Guendouzi's not a loser though. He's a winner. It needs to happen, mate. Clear out.
Mate. Oh, yeah. It's I think it will do us good, the fan base good, everybody good to just move on to the next game. Put this one behind us and go into Arsenal at the weekend with a renewed sense of optimism. Put this one behind us. Yeah, day to forget.
I think you're right, man. I think you're right. Just had to relive that horror. But there's no one else who I'd rather do that with than you, mate. So I'm glad that we got to have this chat. I'm glad that this performance, this game, wasn't left on a sour note of my sort of angry reaction after just stewing like a pressure cooker, flying over the peaks. But yeah, as you said, we'll be back for the Arsenal preview Saturday, so we should probably do that soon. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Not tomorrow, it's Valentine's Day. Definitely not tomorrow. We'll do it Wednesday. Otherwise, we'll get in trouble. But yeah, guys, if you aren't aware, we're on TikTok and Instagram at VillaPod on TikTok, at Heart of the Holte on Instagram. Clips from this podcast, every other podcast that we do will be on there. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, make sure you follow, like, leave a review, whatever you can do on there that helps us. That is the most. And yeah, subscribe if you're on YouTube because we've been growing nicely. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.